So
Hello.
I'm here with Ron Lynch, and I just want you to give everyone just a brief introduction of yourself, what you've done, your marketing genius, stuff like
Well,
that.
that's kind of you. My name's Ron Lynch, and I launch products for individual entrepreneurs and for corporations. I specialize in launching innovative products. So I don't deal with products that have been around for 100 years. I typically deal with products that are new. Something that recently I worked on in the last 5 or 10 years that probably everybody's familiar with is the strategy and the launch of the GoPro camera.
Nice. All right, and you're the CEO of Big Baby Agency. Let's plug that.
I'm the CEO of Big Baby Agency, and we specialize in strategy, marketing, creating television commercials, dealing with media, all kinds of stuff for people that are launching products. We have tiny little entrepreneur clients, and we have clients as big as Samsung.
Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for sitting down with me. So my first question is, I was reading your blog, on LinkedIn, and quote of yours was, if you understand how television and the internet are currently colliding and get the difference between marketing and advertising, you'll have the marketing keys to the universe. So I just wanted you to elaborate on this and tell me how the internet has changed marketing ever since you started your career.
Okay, yeah, there's a couple pieces to that. First of all, I look at marketing and advertising as being very different. Advertising is typically when a company or a person goes out and they talk about themselves to people, and they try to get an image of themselves in someone else's mind and get them to recall them or think of them first when they have a desire. And the advertising's been around for hundreds of years, and that's typically how it's been created. People try to come up with clever ways to stick their image in your mind so you think of them later. Marketing's quite different. Marketing is when you reach out to the consumer and you get them to think about themselves, and you express yourself in a way that you ask questions of them that lead them to you. You become the logical conclusion to the problems and the needs in their life. So you're actually providing education and knowledge to them directly. Secondarily, quality marketing is getting other people to talk about you and why they need you for the same reasons that your consumer base does. So marketing is very tied to a form of advertising. It's very tied to having articles written about you, or having interviews done about you, or having people point back at you. So the internet has changed that whole paradigm in the last 15 years. When I was in my 20s, there was probably 35 stations on my cable network. And advertisers would buy time, and they would focus, time's expensive on TV, and they would focus selling messages to people that had to appeal to 80% of people. So, Pepsi, Coke, AT&T, people who need general products, milk, the cars, the things that we consume. They're expensive to buy that. It's expensive to buy that kind of advertising. So you have to have kind of generic products to make functional advertising work. Then the network started to explode, and rates went down a little bit. But now there's maybe 400 TV stations on anybody's cable box. And there's not that many people watching any particular station at one time, but the stations are now very narrow in who they appeal to. So the demographics of the station kind of narrowed the field, so to speak. So if you're someone that sells products exclusively to women, you might sell products on Lifetime or the Oprah Winfrey Network, or during specific times of programming on TV. But again, over time, that became very expensive. The internet flipped that model around, because the internet allows every individual to approach a company. So you no longer have to have a product that appeals to everybody. You can satisfy small niches and be very, very successful. And the internet's free. Most people don't realize that they think of their TV as their TV, and they think of web pages or the internet as a form of publishing, because that's we kind of read our computers. And the fact of the matter is, a website isn't a site for publishing and reading, and people are becoming more and more aware of this. YouTube is a great example of it. it's a broadcast network. It's a form of video. If you choose to put print on there, you can. But the internet allows you to really isolate individual products for very narrow niches, but sell them on a global scale. And there's people that are succeeding at home, making $1 million a month, selling products on Amazon globally to a very specific audience. So you put those two things together, a huge realm of TV stations, networks, that cover all of these spectrums of people, and an internet that allows you to reach specific groups, and you can really organically grow good ideas into great businesses. And it's really like the gold rush. More people in the next 15 years will make more money as individuals in their homes by figuring this out and going, I've got a product, I've got an idea, or I've got some information that I can sell. And they'll organically grow businesses globally to be multi-million-dollar organizations from their homes.
Thank you for that. So, next question. Where do you think the world of marketing is headed? So I just want to know what you think of when you think marketing in the future.
I think it's going to become more and more specific, and you're going to see actually weirder things become successful because of what I mentioned in the first answers, that there's really the space for people to become super successful selling a small, how do I say this, a small commodity to a massive amount of people that can support it. If you said, hey, I want to sell shoes, but I only want to sell individual shoes to people who only have one leg. You could never do that 20 years ago, but now you actually could go online and you could sell individual shoes to people with one leg. It's like, do you have a left or do you have a right? And you could find those people. And it's that kind of specificity that we can find very unique individuals and sell to them. So I think that one, there'll be more and more people working from home, and there'll be less traditional jobs and careers, and we already see that trend growing.
And then, what is the one piece of advice that you've received in your life that's really resonated with you?
I tell the story frequently, but it's true. I was in a hotel, and I happened to run into Henry Kissinger in the ice room, where you get your ice for your room, and I had this silver bucket, and it was about 1:30 in the morning, and I was in my boxer shorts, and Henry Kissinger was in his boxer shorts. And I bumped into the ice room, and I was about 22, 23 at the time, and I put my ice bucket down, and I put my hands up, and I started to scoop in my ice, and I said, I got to ask you a question. I asked the same question you just asked me. What's a piece of advice you could give a young person? Mm-hmm. Is there something you could tell me? And he said, no. I said, what? He said, no. I said, you won't give me advice? He goes, no, that's the advice. Learn to say no to people. Because in business, if you say no in the beginning of a negotiation, or you say, I can't do anything, it slows the conversation and it lowers the expectation. So when you say no to somebody initially, that's okay to do. And you can say yes to them later. But if you say yes now, you might sign yourself up for something that either you're not capable of or you're going to disappoint them in. And people say yes too fast in our culture to try and please everybody. And they got to have the money, and they got to close the deal, and you don't have to. Your deal will come along. You can say no right now, rethink it through, then tell the person what you can do for them, and get you both to say yes. That way you're always operating out of integrity.
I like that. I like that a lot. So, I guess finally my last question is, what would you tell someone like me who's about to get a marketing degree and go out in the world? Would that be your piece of advice?
My advice would be go get 3 jobs quickly and lose them quickly that you don't really care about in 3 industries that are very different. Go work in a restaurant, go work at an ad agency, go drive a bus, go do 3 things, go work in a warehouse. So you learn how to do different things, because business will always be about relationships and getting along with people. And if you along that way can figure out how to deal with customers, how to deal with vendors, and how to deal with bosses or clients, you got the world by the tail. It's really about learning how to deal with human beings. And frankly, I tell this to the folks that I work with, both directions, people that work for me and people I work for, is you get to do a lot of stuff in your daily grind in your job that's fun. And that's the stuff you get to do for free. And there's a few things every day that you hate to do, and that's what they're paying you for.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I feel like you have a lot of insight, and thank you for taking
I wish you a ton of success, as I know you will have.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for calling. Have a good evening.
Bye.